Today, we're going to talk about how to know if your ex is authentically happy with someone else. Now, lately, I've been answering a lot of questions in our private community. And one of the fears that always seems to come up with individuals whose exes have moved on usually revolves around if their ex is actually happy in that new relationship. So after really spending some time on noodling, I came up with 5 signs to keep an eye on. Sign number 1, study the length of time they've been together. Now, really, what we're dealing with here is the philosophy of rebound relationships. Now, I've made it abundantly clear in multiple articles and videos about how to identify rebounds and how long they typically last. So, what I'm about to say here really shouldn't shock you. One of the best ways to determine if your ex is happy with their new person is to simply look at how long they've been in a relationship with that new person. Shocker, right? But think of it like this. In business, entrepreneurs are often asked to measure the value of a product or a product idea by simply looking at conversion rates. How many people opened their wallets up and bought that product in comparison to a different product? The more people that vote with their wallets, the more valuable the product is deemed to be. Simple concept, right? Well, in measuring the efficacy of a rebound relationship, one simply needs to look at the time invested into that relationship. So in a video I did a couple of years ago, I make the case that the average rebound is probably going to last anywhere between 5 months and 6 months. Thus, it stands to reason that any time invested past that point is akin to a customer voting with their wallet. Now, there are definitely more complications for sure, but if you want a quick litmus test to see if your ex is currently happy with their new person, this might be the best way to get a macro view of the whole thing. All right, so let's move on. Next up, we have sign number 2. The frequency in which you communicate with them can't ever get off the ground. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been spending a lot of time with our community answering their questions. But there is always one huge pet peeve that I have. It's not with a client or a member. It's with their stupid head exes. Forgive the childishness. I cannot stand it when my clients do everything right, only to reach out and have an ex respond, but not in any meaningful way. Of course, this problem is most commonly found within individuals attempting the being there method. Basically, you send a text message to your ex. It's perfectly worded, checked by other members of our community, and then boom, you fire that sucker off to your ex who has a new girlfriend or new boyfriend. Your ex instantly opens it and replies with one word. They seem uninterested. Give you back the bare minimum. No matter how long you try to keep the conversation going, they always seem to lose interest. To you, it feels like talking to a wall. To me, it feels like madness. Often what's happening is that the ex wants to be nice to you by responding, but they don't want to give you any false ideas. They don't want to screw things up with that new person. So they feel kind of caught in the middle between you and the other woman or other guy, and at that point, usually 3 things will happen. Fight, either they'll lash out at you or the new person. Flight, they'll avoid you altogether. Or they'll freeze, give you these pathetic one-word answers to keep things the way they currently are. And that leads us really nicely into sign number 3. They send you the other woman text message when you reach out. Now, we all know what kind of text message I'm talking about here. This one. Listen, I don't think it's best for us to be in contact. It's been just over 2 months since we broke up, but if you look at the above text history, there hasn't been a lot of time of no contact. I haven't said anything until now, as I thought lack of responding would be best, but I feel I need to be clear about my feelings on the situation. I honestly don't mean to come across as harsh or blunt. I hope you understand. Of course, that just came off as harsh and blunt. Basically, it's a back off type of a text message, and it usually comes at the insistence of the other woman. Now, I was a little hesitant to include this one on the list because, if I'm being honest, I'm not 100% convinced it means that the ex is happy with that new person. Often having another person strong-arm you into sending a message like this can kind of backfire. It can be construed as controlling, as a break of trust, and lead to problems down the road. However, if your ex is the one doing this, and they hold true to their word over time, then it's usually a sign they are happy with that new person, unless they break up. Anyways, back to the discussion. Sign number 4, the sphere of influence no longer takes that much of an interest in you. First off, let's do a quick crash course on what the sphere of influence is for those of you who are not familiar or have never experienced it before. So the sphere of influence is basically the people your ex surrounds themselves with whose opinions they truly care about. Now, this can be friends, family, coworkers, but generally, it's the people they are really close with. Hey, I've made a graphic for you to kind of illustrate this point. So basically, the closer you are to that middle circle in the graphic that says you, the more meaningful the sphere of influence is going to be. Now, I've literally seen this make or break people's ex-back campaigns. And the crazy part is this is a concept no one out there is talking about. Here's the interesting thing though. Whoever is in your ex's close sphere of influence can give you a hint at how serious that new person is. So if they're still talking to you a lot, even after the breakup, generally that's a good sign. If they're completely surrounding this new person that your ex is with, generally that's a bad sign. So basically, here's the rule. Where their sphere of influence goes, so too does your ex's interest. And that leads us very nicely to sign number 5. The other person isn't threatened by you at all. Now, the being there method really revolves around attachment styles, which is a strange way to look at it for sure, but consider for a moment the brilliance of it. There are 4 attachment styles: secure, anxious, avoidant, and fearful. Now, with the being there method, you are banking on the fact that your mere presence will irritate the new person enough to trigger a potential anxious attachment style. This will, of course, cause them to self-implode, and all you really have to do is be secure yourself and be present. Just be there. Morally, it's a little gray. Yeah. Does it work? Yeah. I've been doing this for 10 years now. Now, most of the time, the being there method bears fruit. However, every once in a while, a nightmare occurs. A rotten apple, if you will. Sometimes your mere presence doesn't irritate the new person at all. Sometimes the new person is secure and unbothered. That means there will likely be no implosion. That means your ex is probably more likely to fall more in love with this other person. After all, our secure attachment gravity graphic does say that a secure attachment has the potential of leading by example, of showing other insecure attachments how to be more secure themselves. Therefore, if your ex has an insecure attachment, simply by being around this new, more secure individual, they can grow, which makes them fall in love, which makes them ultimately happy.